In today's video on Poppy Breakdowns, we are going to be breaking down a Khalid type beat, more on the 80s synth pop kind of vibe that I've gone for here with this beat that I created. I listened to Satellite, one of his latest singles, before I produced this track, so there is a heavy influence from that song in this production. If you are new to this channel, please smash that subscribe button right now. We're trying to get this channel to 100 subscribers by the end of the year. I think we can do it. And again, if there's any other incentivization for you to subscribe to this channel, there is loads of videos like this to come in the future. So if you enjoy this content in this video today, that's even more the reason. But with that mandatory out the way, let's get straight into this. Let's get into Logic and let's break down this beat. Okay, so we are now in Logic and this is the track. For those of you who don't watch these videos for how these work, every single track listed here, the order is the order that each instrument was added to the production, so you can actually see how I developed this track as I went along. Now again, one of the iconic things from the Satellite track that I listened to was the acoustic guitar. So for the acoustic guitar, that is the first thing I'm going to play you. I actually, for the first time, I normally, if you watch this channel, you know I like to use MIDI guitar at times or use samples. I sampled in individual chords for this one. Very interesting. I haven't done it before, but this was the outcome. And again, very similar pattern to the Satellite song, and it had a nice bounce to it. It needed to have a bounce to it, like the feel. It needs to be like, you know, almost like as a groovy dance song that we're creating here. So that was, off the bat, a very good way to start. And then the next thing I wanted to add was the drums. So for this, I have used the drum kit in Logic, which is Logic's own stock preset drums, and I just used the kick and snare. I've split up the hi-hats and the kick and snare and the toms into separate tracks, so it's easier to mix them. So this is the kick and snare with the acoustic guitar. Very simple. Kick, snare, not overcomplicating it at all. And then when you get to the fills, you've got the drum fills. And as for the processing, the only thing that I really added is an add limiter and really increased the low and the highs of the kick and snare, because I wanted to be really nice and snappy, so I added that high rise in there, but also a low rise to really get the kick punching through. And I wanted a little bit of a distorted sound to the kick and snare if I really complemented it, so I used the limiter to really crank up the volume of the drums, so you get that distorted sound in there on purpose, and then the out ceiling just to make sure it's not actually clipping on the track. So I used distortion to give it a really nice sort of like slappy sound, and I was very happy with the output. So then I added the hi-hats, which is this. Again, very simple. And already you get the sense that this track is coming together. So then we move on to the bass guitar next, was the next thing to add it, and it needed to be something which had a little bit of rhythm to it. It needed to complement the kick and the snare. So I came up with this using the Solid Soul electric bass, which is a preset in Logic. For those who watched videos before, you know how much I love this bass preset. It sounds very cool. This is the bass sound, just following the root notes with a couple of variations. Again, like so, it sounds a little bit meh by itself, but I added a 90s solid synth bass, which is another preset in Logic. If you want to know exactly where it is, it's in the retro synth. It's a very good preset. This, I like this 90s solid synth bass. So when you complement the two together and blend the sounds, you get this. Something a little bit more, what I would atone to the 80s, or a bit more of a synth pop kind of bass. And when you add that to the kick and the snare, you get this really nice bounce. Add the acoustic guitar in. So already the track is really coming together, but the next thing I wanted to add, I wanted to really start building the sort of rhythmic side and the atmosphere of the track. So I went on to guitar, and we're using MIDI guitar. We are using, for this one, the Electric Vintage Open, using the Cold Lake preset, and just playing the chords in. Again, like, I added some ROM reverb to create a little bit more atmosphere to the guitar, so it sounds a little bit more spacey. Very nice, almost acting as if it's like a pad. And I added that with another guitar, doing more of a arpeggiated kind of melody. Again, very ambient, kind of similar to the Satellite Khalid track. trying to listen to sort of like how his track sort of like it makes you feel when you listen to it, and sort of like, you know, for the song Satellite, it sounded like up in space a little bit. They tried to capture that in a production, so I wanted to do a similar thing. So again, nothing creates that sort of spatial feel more than the ambience and like a nice long warm reverb. So that's why that's added in. And then I also added this in, just playing the chords as well, just another guitar. Just wanted to layer it, really sort of emphasize the guitar when you add it all together. Cool. So when you add the guitars in with the rest track, this is what we got so far. And what I really like about this guitar melody I added in with the bass is they're kind of like counter melodies going on here. So I really like to have the counter melodies in there because it creates a lot more movement in the production. So that's why I sort of decided where it's. And the last thing I needed was the synths and the pads, because this wouldn't be an 80s sort of like synth pop vibe without some sort of synths in there. So these are the three synths that came up with. First I added these two pads, which is the dark background dark swell pad. I feel like this is more like the disco pop almost. Again, just playing the chords. But then I wanted something really melodic from the synths to make this a proper like disco pop from like the sort of vibe Khalid adds there. So this is what I added next. Very delicate, very ambient, but again adds to it. So when you add, let's just say, the guitars and the synths together, which creates that ambience, it sounds so much more complete. Cool. And that is basically the track altogether. It's very simple production, but the fills really add the sort of transition between the sections. So I'm just going to play this from the pre-chorus to the chorus, and this is my Khalid 80s disco pop type beat that I made. So yeah guys, if you found this video helpful, smash that subscribe button and that like button, as it's the best way to support the channel, and comment below any other type beats that you may want me to break down. If you want to know what sort of type beats they are, click the link below to my YouTube type beat channel where you can see all of my type beats up there. Have a listen through, and if there's any beats that you find interesting you want me to break down, I'd be happy to do so in future videos. But yeah guys, I'm going to leave it there for today. So thank you for watching this video, keep making music, and I'll see you in the next video.